Okay, trying to work through these 15 things. Number 8. This is a good one. Have a life scripture. It's difficult to tell people to have a life scripture, almost like telling people to get a life. Because something my spiritual dad says, Pastor Dollar says, is you don't choose your race, you discover it. You don't choose your calling, you discover it. I can't really tell you as a married couple to have a life scripture. Go, let me find one. I don't think you find one or select one. I think it gets revealed to you. And I know it's weird to think of having a life scripture or a life verse, and just forgive me for my clumsiness, or as Paul would say, my folly, and I know this sounds silly. But in September of 93, under Brother Copeland, I was there just sitting in a meeting, first time I ever was really in his presence. I was on the front row, and he ministered on the 112th Psalm, the established heart, and those 10 verses just resonated with me, and they became my life verses. I mean, I have a couple of other verses, here and there, but that 112th Psalm is really, and the number of times you and I talk about it.
Oh yeah, and
we live that.
To it, and
we live that. I mean, it's like if you want to look up my life and find out what happened to me, why my life feels like it's been kissed by heaven. That's the thing that we live. Now, what's interesting is, I have this here. I know you're here. This is my guess. 300 out of 365 days, do you think we say it?
At least.
Before we go to bed at night? At least. I was just trying to be conservative, so I was thinking we do it 80% of the time.
Yeah.
We'll have sex. We'll watch television. We'll be traveling different time zones. We'll come in exhausted. We'll
just be talking.
Playing a game, having sex again, whatever. But sometimes even fall asleep, like laying on the bed.
Or one of us falls asleep.
Yeah, one of us. Yeah. But before we roll over to turn off the light or click off the TV or whatever, we recite the 112th Psalm, declare it. We make it a prayer. We customize it, for us. And one spouse will be asleep, and I think even if I'm asleep, you'll say it.
I was going to say, and sometimes
we'll
start saying it
and fall asleep in the middle of it. Yeah, it's like we'll start praise you, Lord, bless this man, the fear of the Lord.
Like a mumble,
and then I'm like, are you there? And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, where were we? But it's our thing. It's it's out of that Deuteronomy. You shall speak of these words when you sit in your house, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And that's just one of our things that we do.
And we have included our kids in it.
Yeah.
And
they know it.
I know
when you say
goodnight. Yeah. When you say goodnight to the kids, you always say goodnight Psalm 112.
Yeah, I call them 112s. I say goodnight 112. They say goodnight 112, and that's our life scripture. And I was thinking about it. Like last night, I think you did it. I think we did it, but it was like, when you fall asleep, you're like, did I say that? Did I dream that or whatever?
Yeah, I think I lost you towards the end of that one last night.
Yeah, I was down for the count. Yeah. It was glorious.
But there's so much in that, and I know we're going to make a short video, but there's so much in that that just is applicable to our lives, and we see it. And it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So, say, God revealed to me as a couple, revealed to me, we, as a married unit, revealed to us. And I knew this in '93. I didn't meet you till 8 years later, but it was my verse, and I can't really say, well, this is your verse. I know you have a life verse of Romans 12:3, 2, 12:2. I know what verse it is. I just didn't know what number it was, but
and you're the 1 Corinthians.
1 Corinthians 15:10. Yeah. So anyway, I know we're rambling, but declaring
we just started, you are already.
I did it before, yeah.
And then I memorized it, and we just night by night say it.
Yeah, but our kids, we say goodnight 112s, and they blow kisses, but we will literally fall asleep, curled up, and one of us will just say it, or we'll, make love and put on some snuggling music, and, I'll be rubbing Connie's back or playing with her hair or whatever, and she'll be asleep, and man, we can go from, what's our guys, Hall & Oates, or or whatever, or it can be Commodores, or just some mellow, relaxed, snuggle post stuff music, and you'll fall asleep, I'll fall asleep, but I'll get up, turn on the scriptures, Alexander Scurby, or some scriptures or whatever. Stevens Amplified Bible plays all night long. But when I roll back over and curl up to her, I'll praise you, the Lord, bless the man, the fear of the Lord. And sometimes you'll hear me, and you'll mumble along with me. And sometimes we'll get where we're distracted, or we'll start over. It's like, okay, we'll repeat the same verses 2 or 3 times. Like where was that? I know this is a lot to go on, but I'm telling you, I just want to share this to give you access into how we live our lives. It's not, I don't know, it's just not religious perfection, but in our heart, meditating on that word and speaking that word over our lives is just big time. So that's number 8, I think. Have a life scripture. All right, enjoy.